Joining us right now is Senior Fellow of the London Center for Policy Research, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer. Good to see you, sir. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Two questions right off the bat. The significance of al-Adnani getting killed in Syria, and got to get your take on John Kerry suggesting the media should not be covering terrorism as much.
Right. Well, first on al-Adnani, it's a good strike. It's a good kill for any number of reasons. First being of which this guy was one of the prime recruiters of Westerners, was directly linked to both the Paris and Belgium attacks, and he was the guy who encouraged the recent attacks over the recent 3 months. So I think his death is significant. It was targeted, as you mentioned, and I think more to come. The Pentagon's becoming much more aggressive about this.
Yeah.
On John Kerry's comments, it's insane. You should not be glorifying the attacks. At the same time, Maria, you have to report on the facts. And this is one of the problems I've seen with a lot of the mainstream media. They get away from reporting the facts. They want to report emotion. And I think this is where they've got to take a step back. And John Kerry is representing essentially the wishful thinking of this White House, where they just wish it would go away. I think you have to report with great clarity about what's going on, when it's going on, and what it means to the American people. The American people are not safe, and I think they have to understand that there's a threat out there. If you don't report on it, there's no threat.
Yeah,
I think that's what they're going for.
Shouldn't he be focused more on actual solutions to taking down ISIS, Dagan, rather than telling the media or suggesting that the media not cover it?
But they don't, the administration, John Kerry, President Obama, they don't really see terrorism as the threat that the rest of this country does. And that's the disconnect. Remember the interview that President Obama did in The Atlantic, where it paints a clear picture of a president who says that we blow it out of proportion, the media and the American people, that terrorism takes far fewer lives in America than handguns, car accidents, and bathtub falls. That's their viewpoint.
Incredible. Wow. Incredible.
After 9/11 in the New York Times, George Soros wrote an op-ed saying that we woefully overreacted to the terrorist attack, and that if we were more like Israel, our response to the 9/11 hits would have been a lot more tempered and measured. That's the Obama plan. He has President Obama's ear, George Soros, and he has John Kerry's ear, and he's a huge funder of those people, and that's basically how they view this. Now, I radically disagree with that. Okay, having been to Afghanistan and Iraq and having understanding of what it's like on the ground and what these people are really like, I just don't understand where they're coming up with that. I don't see where the research connects into their thought process.
Obama still thinks that ISIS are JV, and he's still, I mean, really comparing them to bathtub falls, really?
Exactly.
You know, where are your red lines now?
And look no further than him. Look no further than him sitting at a baseball game in Cuba next to Raul Castro when a NATO ally is being attacked during the Brussels attacks, and he's doing the wave.
And there they are doing the wave.
Let's have a party. I mean, it is embarrassing. The President of the United States is embarrassing the United States, which should not be weak. It should be leading the world. And I know that either one of these people will be a better president than President Obama. That much I can say. Nobody could be worse.
Colonel, what do you think?
Oh, I agree. No, look, everything you guys are saying is spot on. We have a problem with not being able to define the enemy. And this White House has a record going back all 8 years of essentially denying the facts on the ground. We are at war. This war really started a long time ago. The radical Islamists go back centuries. So I think to try to diminish the threat, try to say it's not there, actually gives power to that threat to grow. It gives it, it's like an infection not being treated. So I think we have to recognize there is a threat. If we don't deal with that threat, it'll expand, and I think that's what we're seeing here. I know some, Maria, are trying to push back against this under the Pentagon. I know members of the intelligence community are trying to say it's time to wake up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this White House will not wake up.
Louise, let me get your take on this, and Colonel, you as well. The United States admitting its 10,000th Syrian refugee on Monday. Following the announcement, the Department of Homeland Security sparked outrage when it tweeted this tweet. This is the United States of America. Taking in refugees at times of crisis is the right thing to do. Refugees welcome. Lieutenant Colonel Shaffer, this seems like the DHS was just stirring the pot to try and get a reaction. Refugees welcome when everyone's worried about ISIS infiltrating the refugee flow.
Right. This is a value statement, first off. The Department of Homeland Security should not be making any value judgment. They can state, we have just completed this task. They should not be trying to convince the American people of the appropriate nature of that task. That's a political issue. So that, first off, I think breaks a number of laws I understand that exist to prevent the government from lobbying Congress and the American people.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be happening. Secondly, it's factually not right. Angela Merkel is going to pay a price for 1 million refugees coming into Germany. We're now kind of incrementally going in that direction. I'm telling you right now, there are elements of ISIS in that refugee stream, and we're going to see problems downstream on this.
Right. Well, let me just say that the Refugees Welcome hashtag is the exact same one used by Angela Merkel when she has admitted these people are not refugees. They are young men of fighting age that are coming in and committing absolutely masses of crimes. These aren't women and children. They aren't old people. They aren't refugees. They are young men of fighting age. And Europe is a disaster. The DHS has just signed up to endorse that same horrific program that has seen so many terrorist attacks.
Look no further than the sexual assaults in Cologne over the New Year's.
And where was it on the media? I mean, you didn't even see that story anywhere.
You did not.
It was
Why?
Because it was suppressed by the German police, because nobody wanted to admit that under the title refugee, they'd actually taken in a bunch of sex attackers. And we have seen these kinds of rapes against women and children all over Europe. I personally find that Refugees Welcome hashtag really offensive.
Yeah, it is offensive.
Well, all of that is super offensive to me, but in addition to all of that, they come in and they do not want to assimilate. And they would like you to change your laws to fit their customs, as opposed to what my family members had to do in the 1920s, which is to come to the United States and embrace the United States.
Yeah, I'm an immigrant.
Speak English and adopt Western laws and Western democracy.
Exactly.
So
as an immigrant, I really feel if you do not wish to adopt your host nation's values, then get out and stay out.
Right. Absolutely right. And you make a good analysis when you look at your family and how back then people did assimilate. I mean, it's true. They wanted you to be American.
I don't know about your family, but my Nana, she insisted that none of us spoke Italian.
That's right.
Because she was super worried about us not being able to make it.
Me too. My mother would speak to her mother on the phone in Italian, hang up and speak to all of us in English. And today I regret that because I wish I spoke better
Italian. You can't speak
Italian.
I can't speak Italian. Well, you probably speak it better than me. I can't speak it at all because they did not want us
it's
to
a
come into
small example, right? They wanted to assimilate.
So if you're not assimilating, it's almost like an invasion.
I agree completely.
It's an invasionary force.
Invasion is a good word because that is what has happened in Europe. And of course, the sad thing about it is that actually it's not good for community relations. It's not good for community values. You've seen enormous divides in Europe because of this policy. And if Obama thinks he's going to repeat it in the United States in the dying days of his lame duck presidency, he's got another thing coming.
Yeah. All right. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, good to see you, sir. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Maria.
We will see you soon. Coming up.